go do the counting. Hello everyone, it's Warriors NRL Fanatics here. Welcome back tonight with a live stream, and tonight we're going to be discussing the Rugby League World Cup 2022, which is only just around the corner. And joining me tonight actually is a special guest, and he's actually been on the channel a couple of times before, and I had him on earlier this year to do the Warriors season preview for the NRL, but we're not going to discuss the Warriors tonight. We're actually going to discuss International Rugby League. The Rugby League World Cup is coming up. Keith, Whitelock, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well, and welcome back to the channel.
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. It's always good to be here. This is, I think, my third time on the show, and we'll try and stick to specifically the Rugby League World Cup. I know that last time I was on, we spoke about some really broad state of the international game.
Yep.
Things got quite esoteric in some regards, but we'll stick to the Rugby League World Cup. And yeah, so I'm pretty pumped about. You know, it's less than 2 weeks away. Some more warm-up games this weekend, so bring it on, I say.
Yeah, so we'll just pop into the live chat here. So I've got a comment from Emmanuel. He's saying, what are you guys going to talk about today? So we're going to go through the Rugby League World Cup. We're going to look through the pools and the fixtures, as well as like some key players to look out for teams. Maybe talk about player eligibility as well, like the players that you don't know who were eligible to be selected for each country as well. So we'll talk about that. And maybe Keith will give his predictions as well if he wants to give his predictions out. So Keith, why don't we get into it?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just freelance here. I mean, this World Cup is, I know we say it every year, particularly since 2008 was somewhat of a rebirth for the Rugby League World Cup. This one in particular is, it has to be the biggest and best ever, which is a bit of a cliche, I realise, but financially, as well as the on-field product, it needs to be good enough and successful enough to finance the international game of rugby league basically for the next 4 years. I know that the IRL were seeking to introduce a second profit-making product, and that's when we saw the World Cup of Nines, which was obviously, didn't quite get off the ground, although we did have that one tournament in Parramatta. I think that it's a long way off becoming a revenue-raising, profitable competition, which leaves the Rugby League World Cup as the only profit-generating international rugby league event where the profits actually go towards the IRL and not the participating nations who are underwriting it, such as when Australia helps to underwrite the Four Nations and individual tests with New Zealand, etc. So this World Cup needs to make a lot of money. The 2008 one, I think, made 5 million AUD from memory, and I think the 2013 one made around 10 million AUD. 2017 was not all that successful financially. However, the British government have stepped up in regards to this World Cup. It's been played at some big stadiums. There's big focus on the north of England, and there's a £25 million donated from the British government. So that combined with TV revenue, which, the numbers are a little opaque around them at the moment, but you can see that this World Cup has a lot of potential to make a big profit. Hopefully enough for the international game to feed off for 3 years this time, because we've got France coming up in 2025.
Yeah, well said there. But look, Jason Reader, I'll say hello to Jason Reader saying g'day Warriors and Fanatics. How are you going? I'm doing well, Jason Reader. Hope you're doing well yourself. But look, I'll get into the fixtures actually in the pools. So we've got Pool A. So Pool A is England, France, Greece, and Samoa. And the first game is England versus Samoa on Sunday, October the 16th. What are you expecting out of this first game in Pool A?
Yeah, it's fair to say that this is the biggest game of the pool round. This game will dictate who England and Samoa, who I assume will finish 1 and 2 in Pool A, have to play in the quarters and the semi-finals as well. Last time I checked, which was late last week, there was 40,000 tickets sold for this game. This game's at St James Park up in Newcastle, so up near the Scottish border. Stadium only holds about 52,000. And yesterday it was announced, or the day before yesterday it was announced that the Kaiser Chiefs will be playing as entertainment as well. So those 12,000 tickets will be snapped up. This game's almost certain to be a sellout. The other game that's surprisingly looking to be a sellout is Ireland versus Jamaica at Headingley. So Headingley holds about 18,000, and already more than 15,000 tickets have been sold. That's courtesy of the Show Me the Money podcast for those stats, or the full 80 minutes. But so the ticket sales are really strong for this tournament. Over 350,000 tickets sold, and that's expected to push towards $500,000 as play gets underway. But to come back to your initial question, I have no idea who's going to win this game. I think people are writing off England at their own peril here. England on home soil, sold out St James Park in Newcastle. Samoa is still largely an unknown quantity. England have been getting together as a squad under Sean Wayne ever since Wayne Bennett was replaced by him. They catch up very frequently, even the Australian-based players. I'm actually going to go with England as the winner of this game. But it's certainly two teams that will go deep into the tournament, and it is the game of the pool rounds for me.
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be a great game because, you've got two teams that they want to kickstart their World Cup on a high, on a good note. And obviously, if England, they've got it's a pretty easy-ish pool for me. I mean, Samoa's probably they're already testing this one for the first game. And, England, obviously, they want to come out and being the host nation, they want a good start to the tournament. And Samoa, they want to cause an upset and a shock in the first game. But I'm not going to give my predictions away right now because I'll probably do my own predictions in due course soon. But, I reckon it'll be a very good game. And Samoa, I think, will be very competitive as well. And who knows, maybe potentially an upset in that one. But, we'll leave a prediction there. But the next game was on Sunday, October the 16th at St James's Park. It's at Samoa, England. So the next game's on Tuesday, October 18th. Get that right. France versus Greece. What are your thoughts on this one? On this game, France versus Greece?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. You'd like to think that France will get this. Not to sort of get sidetracked a little bit here, but I wrote an article about a year ago on just how good Tonga's been for the international game. And, we shouldn't take anything away from exactly how much Tonga's reinvigorated Australia. But the IRL, or as they were known as the RLIF, came out in a business plan maybe 6 or 7 years ago and correctly targeted at least 2 additional G20 countries to genuinely grow the sport of rugby league in. The island of Tonga, or the islands of Tonga, have about 110,000 people. Samoa about 300,000 people, and they're entirely reliant on their diaspora, primarily in Australia and New Zealand, if not solely in Australia and New Zealand, to field these amazingly competitive sides. However, the diaspora is not always going to flow. I mean, we're seeing the issues with Ireland and Scotland having a rapidly reducing pool of Australian-based players that are actually eligible through their grandparents to play. Eventually, you pass the grandparents, and you can't actually play for Ireland in, Luke Keary's case, if he was one generation away. And the Irish coach said that this week. He feels that they're 6 or 7 years away from not being able to rely on their diaspora at all and having to genuinely grow local products and develop a competition in Ireland. So coming back to the example of Greece, they are largely continued. It's good to see a couple of players. I think there's 3 or 4 from the Greek domestic competition. I think I saw a player from Rhodes named, which is really appealing, considering the game was banned under the previous government, and they're playing games that were starting at 1 a.m. You'd like to think that France, who are fielding a team of all basically Super League players, genuine sort of French-born, raised French-speaking players, and the game has so much potential there. So this is one that I really want to see France win, almost solely due to the potential of what France can do for rugby league long term, being genuine local players, such as another team like Papua New Guinea. So I'm going to go with France for this one due to the Super League experience, now that Toulouse has been in the competition for 1 year, and also Catalan Dragons. And I think players like Arthur Morg are extremely exciting. You never know what to expect from Tony Gijot, and there's a good few players in the spine, fullback and halves, starting to come through along with their forwards. So I'm going to go with France for this one.
Yep. So just reading through some of the comments here. So we've got Shamoza saying, speaking of England, I'm looking forward to that Fiji warm-up game on Saturday early morning. And Jamie here is, I'll just read this comment. Bear with me here. So he's saying any players who usually play for England that are going to Tier 2, like the boys going to Samoa and Tonga.
Not necessarily from... there are players that are eligible for England, however, not to the degree of what's happened with Samoa and Tonga. And what I mean by that is players that would be picked for Australia or New Zealand who are turning them down and actually playing for their heritage nations. The traditional way of, if I don't make the England squad, I'm going to play for Wales or Ireland or Scotland is happening. And if you look at the Wales squad, I know that some fans cheekily name them the Wales Bulls because John Kerr, I should say, their coach, was a coach of Bradford Bulls, and the large contingent of the Welsh squad is coming from the Championship in England. But the fact that, respectfully, they're playing in the Championship and not the Super League shows that they wouldn't have made their English squad anyway. But you'll see those home nations fielding primarily English accented players, if I may put it that way, but not choosing them over England, just not being picked by England, so defaulting to those nations. So quite the opposite to what's happening in the Southern Hemisphere.
Well said there. And anything you'd like to add on about that game, France versus Greece?
So that one's in Doncaster, so an appropriate size stadium for that. I think it'll be exciting in a novelty way, and I mean that with the most respect I can have for Greece. It's their first time at the World Cup. They're making their debut along with Jamaica, for example, or Brazil in the women's format. So I think the fact that Greece are there, given how tumultuous the recent past has been, as I said, being banned from being a sport, as they're hidden under the guise of pentathlon by the previous Greek government, and refused to not getting the recognition that they're a separate sport to rugby union. I think the fact that Greece are there is really heartening in itself, and I believe that Nick Politis, the godfather of the Roosters, has given about $100,000 to help them out. So I love that Greece is there, but in reality, if the game wants to grow long term, France needs to start winning games like this.
Yeah, well said there. And on to Sunday, October the 23rd, England take on France at the University of Bolton Stadium. England really should be winning this game, but do you feel like France can be a little bit competitive in this one, or is England just going to run away with it? How do you feel in terms of this game?
I do feel that France can be competitive, but as we saw in the game that they played a few months ago in the mid-season test, there's very little chance that France will win this one. I love that it's in Bolton. It's slightly out of the M62 corridor. It's a decent-sized stadium. I think it used to be called Reebok Stadium. Holds at least 25,000. The capacity I can't recall off the top of my head. But it's obviously recognised as a game that's going to attract more interest than a Wales or Cook Islands or something like that. And with the home team playing, a country that had two Super League teams in the English competition this year, it's a game to note down, but you just can't see the French winning this game. Unfortunately, it's England's to lose, and I think they'll win by at least 20 in reality.
Yeah. That's just going through the comment here. So Shamoza's saying here, ironically, Fiji and PNG have depth in contrast to the heritage players with Samoa and Tonga. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, it's a great comment. Fiji, of all the Pacific Islands, and if you exclude New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, depending on how deep you want to go into geography there, Fiji have a population coming up on 1 million. They have a vibrant local domestic competition. Whilst most players aren't drawn from that local domestic competition, it seems to be growing most years, certainly before COVID. Vodafone jumped on board and very generously donated a lot of money to keep that competition afloat. Population is certainly large enough to keep that vibrant domestic competition ongoing. And Papua New Guinea has about 7 million people, and a government that's extremely keen, if not borderline desperate, to one day get an NRL team. They've got a team in the Queensland Cup. So these are the countries that have a really big future if they can do it right, as do Tonga and Samoa. However, they are heavily restricted by their low population. So it's always going to be a diaspora with Tonga and Samoa. I love the Fiji squad. This is a country that's made the World Cup the last 3 times in a row. World Cup semi-finals, I should say. So that's the final 4. They've been quite far off taking the step into the final, easily beaten all 3 times. But the reality is that, Fiji have a lot of potential, and they don't get the credit that they deserve. And Papua New Guinea have always struggled to play outside of Papua New Guinea, unfortunately. So that's something that they're going to have to get that hoodoo again, broken, because I know they did win a couple of Pacific tests in Campbelltown and in Sydney last time it was on, but Papua New Guinea in Europe is a largely unknown quantity. But long term, very big potential if they can just get the front office right, I think. But for this World Cup, I'm got a soft spot for Papua New Guinea and Fiji. I hope they both go really well. I can see Fiji going really well.
Yeah. Well said. I think Fiji, in terms of Fiji, I mean, we know they've got the talented players, and we know what to expect from Fiji. Is they've always done well at the Rugby League World Cup. As PNG, I think PNG are a little bit of an underdog and threat in this World Cup. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, in your opinion, but
yeah,
I think PNG might be. Yep.
Lockie Lamb's displaying the recent test that they played in the Pacific Test, mid-season test. That was fantastic. That gives them halves. Who else have you got? I think Alex Johnston's Papua New Guinean is, I think. So he's a top try scorer. And you've got Xavier Coates. You've got Justin Olam. As I said, with Lockie Lamb, you've got a half that can actually get the ball out to them. We know the forwards are made of steel. That they run hard. They know how to tackle. So yeah, if they can get it together, it's a very good squad. The Boas brothers in the past have really helped PNG along. So who knows how they go in Europe? Adapting to playing in Europe might be an issue for them because they haven't traditionally adapted playing outside of Port Moresby or anywhere else in Papua New Guinea. But yeah, they can definitely string some games together. I don't know if they will, but they have the potential to.
Yeah, just going through some of the comments here. He's Jamie saying Fiji squad surprisingly missing the Safidi brothers. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a shock actually. Jacko saying here, it amazes me how the island nations produce so many good players in both league and in rugby union. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, Jacko. The issue is the halves. I know they've got Brendan Wakeham. Yeah. He's a sort of manufactured half, if I may word it that way. Many of these countries, Tonga being the most prominent, are missing those real game-controlling halves. And even France to a lesser degree, and that's something that Trent Robinson has identified. He's obviously the French coaching director. He's identified that is the position that the FFR 13 needs to devote a lot of their energy is to developing game managing halves. We see with Fiji, I love that Coruscant didn't get chosen for Australia. I love that he's turning out for Fiji. That'll help things along quite a lot. But traditionally speaking, the big forwards and outside backs are where Fiji thrived. And if they can just get some halves together, they can really challenge the big teams.
Yeah, anyway, so look, the next fixture is Monday, October 24th. So we'll see Samoa Samoa taking on Greece. This one's at Bramall Lane. So Samoa versus Greece. You would say that on paper Samoa really should beat Greece, and it should be a comfortable result. But it should be really comfortable. But what's your general thoughts? How do you think Greece is going to, cope coming up against Samoa and throughout this tournament?
I think they'll struggle to compete with any Southern Hemisphere teams. Perhaps they might, maybe someone like the Cook Islands they could compete with, but I don't even know if they come up against the Cook Islands, to be honest with you. It's one of those teams, and I mean this with the utmost respect, being at the World Cup for the first time is a victory in itself, and I'm sure the players aren't thinking like that. They want to make moves like Lebanon did in the 2017 World Cup. But in reality, not much is expected of Greece. But if they can string some cohesion together, then who knows? Anything can happen in a World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect Greece to do very well at this World Cup, but it's just great to see new teams, just be involved. It's good for the growth of the game of rugby league as well, and in terms of Greece, and just learning. To be in a situation where it's a big tournament and that. So, yeah, good to see Greece actually compete and be in this World Cup. But we'll see what happens with Greece. And the Monday, the November the 1st, sees Samoa taking on France. Now, what do you reckon? What do you reckon about this game? Because Samoa, obviously, they'll be favourites to win this game. France. I think France can be a little bit competitive in this game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they certainly can. Yeah. You still got to back Samoa in this, of course. But France aren't Greece. France have a team stacked with Super League players. Maybe Samoa by 16 or something like that, or maybe it'll be a close one. Anything could happen in this game. Obviously, you're going to go with Samoa. I think that's the one in Warrington. But you'd have to go with Samoa. But I expect big things from France. At the end of the day, I don't expect them to make it out of their pool group, but they will be very competitive in my mind. Trent Robinson will have, even though he's not the head coach, he's the coaching director. France are on the up.
Yeah. So I was just going through the comments here. So Shamos is saying, yes, Samoa do have a slight advantage in halves compared to the other tier 2 teams. Yeah, I think Samoa's pretty much got the wood in the halves over the other Pacific teams, including Tonga. I think Tonga, for me, that was my concern going to the start of the year, and it still is a little bit of concern there with their halves. And yeah, I think they have a good spine to also do well in this tournament. And I know Tonga have done well in the last World Cup, and the spine didn't really make too much of an impact, but you still need a very good 1, 6, 7, and 9 in Australia, New Zealand. They will have it. So, so just go through your comments there. So, Robert's saying here, good morning from the UK, enjoying the show. Thanks, Robert. Hope you're doing well there in the UK.
Robert.
And Jamie is saying here, will only be competitive if Samoa rest players. Yeah, probably. And Jeffrey's saying Samoa is a well-balanced side and will surprise many. But, I think that's... Yeah, what's your thoughts? So you think you pretty much said that Samoa should win, but obviously a lot of people are saying here that Samoa really should win it comfortably, bearing in mind if they rest players. You think, will they rest players maybe if they've already comfortably through?
Hard to say. They might give Shino Harris-Tavita, if he's still in the squad, they might give him a crack at the halves, rest maybe Milford or Luai. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not a punter myself, but sometimes getting a look at the betting markets is actually a good gauge on what people whose job it is to ascertain, the odds and the risk, etc. And Samoa are third in the Australian betting market. So whilst Australia's well short of where they should be, I think that's an inherent bias with the inward-looking. A lot of fans here in Australia don't look at the international game. Australia's only paying $1.44. New Zealand's all the way out at $5 in second place. That's a huge jump. And then you've got Samoa in $10, England in $12, ahead of Tonga in $13, and then it just jumps quite substantially down to Fiji at $51, Papua New Guinea, France, Ireland, Cook Islands, Scotland, Lebanon, Italy, Wales, and Greece. But the fact is, Samoa's the third favourite in the betting markets in Australia. So everyone's expecting big things of Samoa. I'm going to stand by my tip for the first game, England, to take it out for me. I just hope that they name some of their youth like Kai Pearce-Paul, Dom Young, someone experienced but not too old. I'd prefer Tommy Makinson over Ryan Hall, for example. They're going to miss Alex Walmsley, but as coming back to the main point, Samoa being third in the betting markets ahead of Tonga. And Samoa and Tonga can play each other in the quarterfinals, my friend. That's a distinct possibility. That first game will almost certainly decide whether or not Samoa plays Tonga, which is what we all want to see, in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. So I'll just read this comment here. So Jamie's saying, have to plan like that for tournaments, give others game time. You don't want first game in finals, especially if their club misses the finals. Yeah. So.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, it's a very good point there by Jamie. That's well said there. So, yeah, moving on now. So I've gone through all the fixtures here. So players to watch. So from this pool, and from each team, who's your player to watch? So we'll start off with Samoa. Who's your player to watch?
Yeah, I mean, you have to name Jerome Luai, just simply due to the position that he plays in. I think Anthony Milford is primed to have a massive tournament, though. He's an off-the-cuff, instinctual player, and they have the forwards, Josh Papali'i and co, to lay the platform for someone like Milford to actually, tear opposition apart. The Penrith connection, I mean, I think it's basically the starting backline from the grand final winning team that we just saw in the NRL. So the halves, if the forwards can lay a platform for Milford and Luai to basically get the ball out to the Penrith outside backs, it's the cohesion and the fact that they're not lacking in the halves. That's why Samoa are a third favourite in this tournament. Whereas you can see other nations have a lot of talent in one particular area. Samoa have it spread across the park. So Milford is probably my answer to that question. It's a great question, though.
Yeah, so I'll just pop in here to say hello to Just Rugby League all the way from the UK there. He's saying, evening, everyone might as well not turn up as England are going to win it anyway. So obviously he's bragging he's an Englishman. He's hoping for an England World Cup win. We'll sort of see what happens there.
Don't write them off. Don't write England off.
We'll see what happens. I'm not writing them off completely, but I don't know. There's still some concerns for me in regards to this England side. But Shamoza is saying, I prefer to see Samoa and Tonga headed out in the semis. And Jacko's asking here, CHT at fullback for Samoa. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think he'll play fullback or will he play in the halves?
I think that Joseph Suali'i has chosen Samoa over Australia almost solely, with all due respect, or a huge reason at least in his choice is so he can play fullback. So I think that he's been promised the fullback position. Certainly if he's rested, CHT, he turned out for the Warriors at fullback a number of times this year, and he certainly didn't disappoint. The fans were pleasantly surprised. He did a real job there. But certainly the first choice is Joseph Suali'i at fullback, I think. But good question.
Yeah, so we'll get back into my key player for Samoa. I'll probably go with key player to watch out for. Sorry, I'll go with Spencer Leniu. Actually, I think Spencer Lenu's had a pretty very good season actually there for Penrith, and I think he had a great grand final as well. So I'll say Spencer Leniu is just a player out of the blue that I reckon that could be a player to watch out for there for Samoa. So
good choice.
I'll go. So Yep. So we'll go into the comments here again. So Jamie's saying Hammond Ueli in for a big tournament was great. Early season was great early season before injury. They also have a real 9 with Brown as well. And Shimoza is saying it's weird that some England fans aren't too confident about their chances, despite no one writing them off. Yes, I am a little bit surprised by the few England fans out there that aren't really giving their team a chance, but you never know. I think there's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, some great comments here, by the way.
Yeah, these comments are great, everyone. So just keep them coming in and keep your questions coming through, and we'll answer them through the show. So Just Rugby League is saying here, Warriors, you'll see my take on the England team tomorrow morning for you live on my podcast. Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. Obviously,
I'll check that out too.
Just Rugby League, he does a podcast with rugby league history on his channel. Two very good YouTubers out there in the rugby league world. So they're it's called Views from the North podcast. So go and check them out. Go give them a watch here on Just Rugby League's channel there. So yeah, shout out to them. Jamie's saying Suali or Crichton better fullback CHT9 cover. Fair enough.
Yeah, good comment.
And Jacko's saying yes, Suwali looks lost at fullback for Chookies when Teddy got injured. All right, so the next team is Greece. So who's a player to look out for you for Greece? Obviously, it's a bit difficult, obviously, because we don't see too much of Greece out there. But who's a player you're looking out for?
Yeah, it's mine's an obvious one. Billy Magoulias. He's got NRL experience. There's part of me that wants Braithen Asser to jump out of retirement because I think he's played for Greece once or twice when he was an active player. But I'll go with the guy with the most NRL experience, Billy Magoulias. They do have another player. Sorry, his name eludes me at the moment. Who'd you say?
Lachlan Ilias?
Yes, sorry, maybe him. Yeah. Let's go Lachlan Ilias.
Yeah, I'd probably say I've only got one down, obviously, because I don't know too much of the Greece side, but I'll go with Lachlan Ilias. Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of improvement in Lachlan Ilias throughout the season, actually. I think he came along pretty well during the finals as well for the Bunnies. So, yeah, I mean, Lachlan Ilias, definitely a player to look out for. Obviously, he's got a bit of Greek heritage here, so that's why he's been eligible to play for the Greek side. So the last team in this pool is France. So who's a player you're looking at for France in particular for this World Cup?
Easy one for me, Arthur Morg. He's so exciting to watch. He is the antithesis of what French rugby league are, that off the cuff, really instinctual type play, unstructured, can light a game up. Long term, you probably can't base a team around that. You need your structured players if you're going to take on the nations like Australia one day. But yeah, Arthur Morg, certainly, that's an easy one for me.
Yep. Yeah, for me, I probably go with Samasoni Langi, actually. I believe he plays for Catalan Dragons here in the Super League. So, yeah, I'll go with him there. And Just Rugby League,
if I may name a few, because France are one of those teams that NRL fans don't see a lot of. And my advice is to look out for Morgan Ascari, Tony Gigot, who's probably the most inconsistent player you'll ever come across, but can light it up, and Artur Morg. So if you can look out for those three players, they're the most exciting players in the French team, in my opinion. And I'm just looking now. They've got a winger who's just really mainstay of French rugby league and has been Fawad Yaha. He's been the Catalan winger for a long time, I believe. So look out for him on the wing as well.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, Just Regularly mentioned that as well. He's saying Yaha as well for France there, and Shamoza, I think. Sorry for pronouncing it wrong there. So France do have a Tongan in there. Yeah, they do. And he's also saying here Ben Garcia, Just Rugby League. And what's the comment here? I'll just read through the comments. Bear with me, guys. Just going through the comments as best as I can here. So, Lola Carter is saying here, do you think one of the island teams can make the grand final? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I certainly do. I mean, if we can touch on this, because we've only got about 20 minutes here left. I today looked at the tournament structure and made a prediction. The hardest thing to predict was who's going to win that first game at St James Park, England or Samoa, because it does have a bearing and a knock-on effect as to who plays who later on. So the good thing is that if England win that game, you can assume that they'll probably, or it's safe to assume that they're going to win that pool, given the competition with respect to who they're up against. That does create Tonga versus Samoa in the quarterfinals. But if they don't win, if Samoa wins that game, you've got I think England versus Tonga instead, making some assumptions. Yeah, England versus Tonga. So the Group D winner at Warrington versus the Group A runner-up. So someone's going to play Tonga in the quarterfinal, and it's going to be the loser of that first game between England and Samoa. So Samoa win, Tonga England. If England win, Tonga Samoa, which I think all us fans want to see.
Right. So, yep.
Yeah, so I had England and Samoa making it out of that group. And if maybe we can touch on the other groups just quickly before we go around the tournament structure as to who's going to break out of those groups. And given the time constraints.
Yep. So we'll go through the rest of the pools and the fixtures, but just quickly, your predictions. Well, what are your predictions for this pool? Who do you see finishing first, second, third, and fourth?
I've gone England first, Samoa second. Could just as easily be flipped. Whoever wins that first game is going to win that tournament. But I really hope to see Tonga versus Samoa. I think that game will be absolutely epic. So I'm going to go with England to win and Samoa to be runner-up. However, that's not to say that if they come up against each other later on in the tournament, I'll choose England, because I think it's going to take some time for the Samoan squad, despite the fact that a lot of Penrith players are in there, to build the cohesion that a team like England has. Sean Wayne's been mentoring them for a couple of years now. They've got their academy that they meet up, they're in regular contact, and the Samoa team's only just been picked. So the only reason I choose England is because I think they'll have more cohesion, and the fact that they're at home, big home crowd, should be a sellout crowd up in St James Park, Newcastle. And yeah, those are the two that'll make it out of the group. England first, Samoa second, France third, and Greece fourth. Yeah, this is the extremely tough group for Greece to be in. In fact, I dare say that this is the equivalent of the group of death for Greece to be in.
Yeah, good. Yeah, nice predictions here. So I'll just go through the comments before we move on to the next poll here. So just quickly, Jack O'Hara is saying here, if Samoa win first game, they can go all the way to the final. That's a big call there.
Not a bad one, though.
It's not a bad call, though. It's not a bad call. Samosa says, I would love to see Samoa, PNG, and Tonga and England as quarterfinal fixtures. And Jacko's saying, me too, Sammy. I think good chance it'll happen. And Just Rugby League saying, I'm going to the England versus Samoa opener. Can't wait. Well, enjoy it. Should be good, actually.
Amazing.
Yep. So we'll go into the next side of the pool now. So it's Pool B. So Pool B has Australia, Fiji, Italy, and Scotland. And the first game is on Sunday, October the 16th. So that is Australian Kangaroos taking on Fiji Bari at the K-Com Stadium. So that's Hull FC's home ground there. So what's your thoughts on this game? Do you think Australia, obviously they go in as the raging favourites to win the tournament again, but can Fiji, can they produce a surprising upset in this first game?
To be frank, no. It'll be one of the biggest upsets we've seen in the history of rugby league. Reminds me of when the Tomahawks were ahead of Australia at halftime about 15 years ago in a game in America. But it can't happen. But I'm really pumped to see Josh Wong, who's a Roosters prodigy, coming through. I think he's actually eligible for New Zealand as well. So he's an exciting player. Alpi Coruscant, Viliami Kikau, Michaeli Ravalawa, Micah Sivo. So there's some talent there, but not enough to match Australia, unfortunately. But it is going to be an amazing game to watch.
Yeah. So what are your predictions? Do you think obviously you would go with Australia, but how much do you think they'll win by?
If Fiji can keep Australia under 20 points in terms of the margin, I think that'll be a good showing from Fiji. So as a romanticist and an optimist, I'm going to say Australia by 18.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, look, I think Australia will probably be too strong there against Fiji. But the next game is on the Monday, October the 17th. It's Scotland taking on Italy, which is very interesting. How do you think this one will go in terms of, both teams?
Yeah, both teams are teams that have fielded a very exciting team at previous World Cups, but struggled to find the talent via their diaspora at this World Cup. And despite the fact that someone like Ewan Aitken is turning out for Scotland, I think Kane Lynette is in extreme doubt, if not has already pulled out. You don't have your real sort of lifelong Scottish representatives in key positions like Danny Brough was, 10 years ago. Italy doesn't have the Minicello brothers, Tedesco even, Craig Gower. So there are teams that have put out some amazing teams. I think Italy upset England. I'm going back a number of years now, before the 2013 World Cup in a warm-up game. But they just don't seem to have that quality of squad anymore, unfortunately, which brings it back to the risks of relying on a diaspora that I spoke about, when we first started chatting tonight. So both of them, I'll go with Scotland, but the reality is that, it's anyone's name. They're both largely unknown quantities, and with respect, not a huge amount of big names in those squads. Lachlan Coote was a massive loss for Scotland. If he was playing for Scotland, then I'd say Scotland hands down, but who knows now? Very evenly matched.
Yeah. It's, just going through the chat here. So just ignore one of the persons is trolling live stream. Just ignore that. Pro Enzo Vids is saying go Italy. He's hello to Pro Enzo Vids. Hope you're doing well. But so the next game was on Saturday, October the 22nd. So it sees Australia taking on Scotland. I think Australia will win it rather comfortably. How do you see it? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, Australia by, I hate to say this, at least 40. Don't lose track of the fact that Scotland have tied with New Zealand in a Four Nations tournament in the past. They don't have that squad anymore. And this squad looks vastly weakened after the loss of Lachlan Coote in particular. So I'm going to go Australia by 40, unfortunately. But the fact that Scotland get to play Australian Rugby League is something that I'm keen to watch, just for the novelty value and how rare it is.
Yep. So if there are any moderators in the chat, guys, please block any of these trolls and people just being a nuisance in the live chat. Just if there's any mods in there, please remove them. But Australia really not much to say in terms of this game. Scotland, they're it's good to see them in the World Cup, but Australia probably should win it rather comfortably. But Sunday, October the 23rd, it sees Fiji versus Italy. Keith, what are your thoughts here? How do you think it's going to go? You think Fiji will put a scoreline on Scotland, or do you think Oh, no, it's Scotland. No, did I say Italy? I said Italy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you think it's going to go, Fiji and Italy? Do you think Italy can do something here, or is Fiji just going to, put a massive score on them?
I think Fiji will win comfortably. I don't think it'll be embarrassing, but maybe 30
Yeah.
points as a margin. Cooper Johns is playing for Italy, and Nathan Brown from the Parramatta Eels. So there is some NRL experience in there that they can lean on at training and, in the heat of the battle. But yeah, Fiji pretty comfortably at the end of the day for that one.
Yep. So just Shamoz is saying, funny enough, if an unlikely upset of Australia by Fiji ever happens, and they'll avoid New Zealand in the quarterfinals. Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. And Shamoz is also saying if Fiji likely to beat Scotland and Italy, respectively, with their newly found spine. So, Sunday, October the 30th, sees Fiji versus Scotland at Kingston Park there. Fiji, really another game they should win. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Fiji comfortably. I've got Fiji. As I said, Fiji are a team that has made the semi-final for the last 3 World Cups in a row. I've certainly got them making the quarterfinals. Australia will dominate that group, of course, but Fiji will almost certainly be runners-up. And they'll go through to play, in my prediction, New Zealand in the quarterfinals, who will dominate Group C. New Zealand probably have the easiest group in my mind compared to how dominant they are. So I've got New Zealand playing Fiji in the quarterfinals, in which case I've got New Zealand dominating that game. So I don't think Fiji will make the semi-finals of this World Cup. I think the run will come to an end.
Yep. So pro-ins overs here. So usually would have Vaughan, Teddy, and Brown who are playing, and had Guerra in the past too. So experience will be very costly. Yeah. I mean,
Alvaro as well.
Yeah, it's a shame Tedesco is not turning up for Italy and a couple of other players, but I think it would have been great if those players were actually going to play for Italy. But obviously they're playing for Australia, Tedesco especially. And Naz Williams, how are you doing, Naz Williams? She's saying here, Cleary versus Cherry Evans for 7. Mel's going to show his bias for Queensland come the business end.
I'd love to see, just on that comment, I think, and I could be wrong here, and apologies if I am, I wonder if Nathan Cleary is eligible to play for Croatia if they ever got a team together. That'll be interesting to see, along with the Trbojevic brothers turning up for Serbia, who do have a team and a great domestic competition. The Croatia one's a bit more of a stretch than Serbia for the Trbojevic brothers, but it'll be amazing to see Nathan Cleary play for Croatia one day, even if it's just a one-off friendly to help them out if they do get a team up and running.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that one, actually. I didn't even know about that. So, so Sammy's saying here, New Zealand's easiest route to the finals, and Samoa and Tonga even easier route to get there on the other side of the draw. Yeah, for sure.
Depends on who wins that first game. I've got Samoa needing to beat Tonga if they lose to England in that first game. If they beat England, Samoa then need to play probably Papua New Guinea in the quarterfinals. So obviously a lot easier than Tonga with respect to Papua New Guinea. And then they would go on to probably have to play England again if they win the first game of the tournament. Whereas if they lose the first game of the tournament, as I said, they'll come up against Tonga, and certainly not an easy game.
Yeah. So, where were we? So Sunday, October the 30th, Australia, Italy. So that's at Totally Wicked Stadium. Really, Australia. But what do you think?
Yeah, Australia comfortably with that one.
Yep. So now on to the players to watch. So players to watch for each of these teams in the pool. So we'll start off with Fiji. So who are your players to watch for Fiji?
Happy Coruscant. I think he's trickery from dummy half. I think the direction that he'll give the team. I think that is a massive in for Fiji, and there'll be a different looking team without him. So happy Coruscant, hands down.
Yep. Yeah, for me, I've gone with Viliami Kikau, and I've gone with Taniela Sindruku, and also I'm going to go with Taruva as well, Sunia Taruva as well. I think he's had a very good year actually for Penrith. Actually, plays in the New South Wales Cup for Penrith, and obviously with Penrith we saw them win the New South Wales Cup this year as well. So I believe he was one of the team of the years as well. So yeah, I'll go with Taruva, and I'll go with Viliami Kikau as well. But on to the next team, we'll go with Scotland. So Scotland is an interesting one. Who's your player to watch for Scotland?
Yeah, conventional pick again. Ewan Aitken for me. I want to see what experience he can impart on some of the lesser experienced players, just to choose someone outside of the NRL. I want to see how Matty Russell goes. I'd love to see him play at fullback. I think he came through the ranks playing a little bit of fullback. He's played wing for Catalan in recent years, primarily, but Matty Russell, Ewan Aitken for me, the experienced guys. James Bell as a New Zealand Warriors fan, so don't quite know how he's Scottish, but he has represented Scotland a number of times now. He's one of the most cup players in that squad. So throw James Bell in there as well.
Yep. Okay. So obviously the last team, well, it's Australia. Who are you looking at for Australia?
I think Latrell. I think he's the most exciting player in the game for me. I want to see how he goes in what is now out of position. I assume he's going to be lining up at centre. So let's go with Latrell Mitchell.
Yep. Yeah, I'll probably say I'm going to go with the youngster Jeremiah Nunai. Actually, I think he's had a very good year for the Cowboys and Rookie of the Year, and I'll go with Ruben Cotter as well, and Matt Burton. So I've named a couple of players there, but on to the predictions now. So predictions for the pool. So who do you think finishing first all the way to fourth?
Australia followed by Fiji. I'll go with Scotland, then Italy.
Yep. So for me, I'll probably say Australia will top the pool, and I'll go Fiji second, Scotland third, and Italy fourth. So that's my predictions there. So yeah, so moving on now. So the next pool is Pool C, and that features Ireland, Jamaica, Lebanon, and New Zealand. The first game is on Monday, October 17th. We see Jamaica taking on Ireland. What is your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I love this game. I am going to go with Ireland as my choice, but I love that it's in the north of England, in the area that they're in. It's actually quite a lot of Jamaican heritage, people of Jamaican heritage, and also Irish heritage as well. So I love that game. That game will almost certainly be a sellout at Headingley. I'm going to go Ireland for this one. I love that Jamaica in the squad. Shout out to Romeo Monteith. He's one of the hardest working men in rugby league, and has been for the best part of 20 years now. I used to sponsor, when I was a lot younger, an academy that he got up and running called the Hurricanes out of Kingston. So he's been doing hard work on the ground for many years now, and to see Jamaica make the World Cup and him being named coach, I believe, the fact that they're there is a celebration of rugby league in itself, because the junior development, whilst there's not a lot of money behind it in the Kingston area of Jamaica, the fact that they've held annual competitions for a number of years now, perhaps affected by COVID. Real hard work has been done on the ground. And unfortunately, Ireland do have a lot of English-based players to rely on as well, although they are looking to choose genuine Irish domestic comps now as well. So Ireland for me, but I love that Jamaica's in this competition.
Yep. So just saying hello to here to Hold the ball. Hope he's doing well. He's saying, "Yeah, go Jamaica." Good to see you, Hold the ball. Hope you're doing very well on this evening.
Hey, mate.
And yeah. So again, apologies, guys, if you're seeing all these ridiculous comments here. Just ignore them. If there are any mods in the chat, please remove and block these comments. So let's get back into it. So Jacko's saying here, no, Sammy, Kiwis will walk over Lebanon. Yeah, fair enough. That's a fair point. But,
fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough there. Hold the ball saying, well said, Keith. He likes what you said there. And
Thanks, mate.
And Samoa's Sammy saying, yeah, I reckon Lebanon will give New Zealand a real game with Dewey and Moses in the halves facing off against Hughes and Brown. Yeah, so, yeah. So the next game, I'll just keep going here. So the next game is obviously, as a Kiwis fan, this is the one to look forward to. It's the first game of our tournament. It sees the New Zealand Kiwis taking on Lebanon at Hollywell Jones Stadium on Monday, October the 17th. Thoughts, Keith? What do you think? Kiwis win? Do you think Lebanon can take it to this New Zealand side, or will the Kiwis just, win it comfortably? What do you think?
No, this is the best Kiwi side ever, and I'm very confident behind that opinion as well. I can't see Lebanon getting close. I love that the two most prominent players are the two halves for Lebanon. If you're going to choose two positions to have your standout players in, it's going to be your half and your 5/8, generally speaking. So they should be able to compete with Brown and with Brown and Hughes, I should say. But outside of that, I mean, you look at that New Zealand forward pack, and not even Australia rivals that forward pack in my mind. So I think they'll be somewhat driven back, and New Zealand will be punching the line too often, fast play the balls, and not even Dewey and Moses can do too much about that. So New Zealand in a comfortable win for that one for me.
Yep. So I'll just continue to look through the comments and try and ignore these other comments that keep popping up. So Sammy's saying your Kiwi forward's likely to run rampant over Lebanon despite evenly matched halves. And Jacko saying your best Kiwi side ever, maybe, but yet to be proven that they're better than the great Kiwi sides of the 1980s. Interesting point. And
very good point. I like that. I respect that.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much the majority of the comments here. So yeah, look, I think Kiwis should really win this one. They should take it out rather comfortably. But good luck to Lebanon. So the next game sees Monday, October 24th. Speaking of Lebanon, see Lebanon taking on Ireland at the Lee Sports Village. So yeah, how do you think this game's going to go? What are your thoughts?
No idea. And anyone that claims that they have a good idea is, I don't know. Should start with once upon a time. It could go either way. The halves lead me to go with Lebanon for this one. I interviewed, I think, the CEO of Irish Rugby League. I'm going back about 10 years now, and he was telling me that at the time, Rugby League was the 49th ranked sport in terms of participation and viewership in Ireland. So respectfully, we know that Rugby League has a lot of room to grow and expand long term in Ireland, a long way to go. These teams, whilst Ireland has a lot more genuinely Irish sort of born and raised players in that squad, I think the halves will probably prove superior for Lebanon. But as I said, no idea. Could go either way.
Yeah, I think it's just a tough one to really say too much on. I think Lebanon really should win it, and Ireland.
Something I just remembered. Sorry to interrupt. Luke Keary is the half for Ireland, so I need to mention that. So there is at least one of the halves of Lebanon will be offset by Luke Keary, who's an amazing player. If only Isaac Luke could come out of retirement and play for them.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, so I've got Saturday, October 29th. So we've got New Zealand Kiwis taking Ireland. Just a quick thoughts on it. What do you think?
Lebanon, Ireland, sorry?
No, sorry, New Zealand. No, New Zealand Kiwis versus Ireland.
Yeah, New Zealand comfortably. New Zealand have, in my mind, the easiest group. They are essentially a Leviathan in that group.
Yep.
So, they will win comfortably, and I expect them to have the largest for and against of any group, although Australia could take a team like Scotland to town with due respect. So I could be wrong about that. But New Zealand have the easiest three opposition in the pool stage for me.
Yep, and then obviously you got the last game of the pool stage, Sunday, October 30th. It sees Lebanon taking on Jamaica. So I'd probably say Lebanon, but what do you think? Quick.
Yeah, Lebanon for me. I was looking forward to seeing Dom Young turn out for Jamaica, but he's proven good enough to turn out for that English squad, and he's chosen to go with England. And all fair to him as well. But Jamaica just being in the competition, making their debut along with Greece, both those teams as a celebration of the game, with the fact that they're there, and anything more than that is just a real bonus. So Lebanon fairly comfortably, by at least sort of 14 or something like that.
Yep. So on to the next part. Obviously, is the players to watch. So who's your player to watch from this particular pool?
New Zealand, I want to see how Joey Manu goes. His display against Tonga in the mid-season test, that kid's potential is just amazing. The fact that the Roosters have so many of these young players like Josh Wong for Fiji, Suali'i for Samoa, Joey Manu for New Zealand. I was actually keen to see whether or not he'd more players would turn out for the Cook Islands, such as Joey Manu, but obviously he's chosen to go with New Zealand, and once again, all play to him. So Joey Manu, Luke Keary, I want to see how he goes. Leading Ireland around the park. Lebanon, like my players to watch are the ones that in my mind are going to be dominant. They're quite boring picks, but Mitchell Moses for Lebanon. And Jamaica, I'm not too sure. I don't really know. I know surnames such as Aaron Jones Bishop because Jamie Jones Bishop. I assume that they're related. There's Ben Jones Bishop. Alex Young is the younger brother of Dominic Young, but I've never seen any of these players actually play, so it's too hard for me to comment. So I'm just going with the whole squad for Jamaica. I have no idea.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's all good. But just quickly, what about your predictions for the pool and where you think each team will finish?
Yep, New Zealand to tear through that group with Lebanon the runner-up.
Yep, well said there. So, on to the next pool now. So it's Pool D. So Pool D has the Cook Islands, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, and Wales. And the first game's on Wednesday, October 19th. It sees Tonga taking on Papua New Guinea at the totally wicked stadium. Look, this is an interesting one. Actually, this is a game I really am looking forward to.
It's more interesting than people actually realise. Papua New Guinea are not a bad team.
Yeah, they aren't. But what is your thoughts? Like, I reckon this could be a pretty close encounter.
I think Tonga, at the end of the day, primarily due to their forwards, though. I think the forwards are what will get Tonga home possibly fairly comfortable at the end of the day. But you've got to realise that Watson Boas is a great half. Lockie Lamb's a great half. Those two will be able to steer the team around the park. And then you've got outside backs in Xavier Coates, Justin Olam. You've got a goal kicker in Reece Martin. You've got the NRL's leading try scorer 2 years in a row, Alex Johnston, in there. Mackenzie Yeh is an excitement machine. I always love watching him play. He's all heart. Nene McDonald, don't underestimate Papua New Guinea. Go with Tonga at the end of the day due to the strength of their forwards, but this is a really good game, this one.
Yeah, I reckon it's probably a game worth watching for sure. I mean, it's between two teams. You expect Tonga obviously favourites going into it, but Papua New Guinea, you know what you're going to expect with Papua New Guinea. They're going to come out all guns blazing. They'll put in the physical contact. They'll they'll make it a game for sure. And even if they don't, win, they're still gonna give it their all for their jersey and that. So I reckon it'll be a good game for sure in terms of this pool. So just going into the comments here. So Sammy saying, I will be keeping an eye on the new teams in this tournament on how they go, and she, I believe it's she, also is rooting for the Kiwis or anyone to win the whole thing except for Australia for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And Jacko's saying, you love way PNG play. Tonga will be too big and strong up front, but if they take PNG cheap, an upset could happen. So yeah, possibly it's definitely a possibility, but obviously Tonga really, for me, will probably win the game. But don't write off PNG for an upset there. But the next game is on Thursday, October the 20th. Sees Wales taking on Cook Islands at the Lee Sports Village here. So Wales is a little bit of an unknown for me, but Cook Islands, I think Cook Islands definitely have a talent to be pretty competitive. What's your thoughts on either team?
Could go either way. I'll go with Cook Islands. They will probably win this one. Wales is largely a championship team. By that I mean the league below the Super League. They probably have a decent amount of cohesion. John Kerr is a long mainstay in and around that squad. Cook Islands, they could have a lot stronger squad than what they've named if they went through a similar thing to what Tonga and Samoa are going through. But at the end of the day, they don't. So Cook Islands to win this one. Who knows, Wales could cause an upset. Unlikely, but, wouldn't be out of the question.
Yep. Yeah. So, I've already read that comment anyway. So, so the next game is Wales versus. Oh, no, I've already gone for Wales Cook Islands. Sorry. It's Tuesday, October the 25th. It says Tonga versus Wales. Tonga versus Wales at Tony Wicked Stadium. Yeah. What is your thoughts on that? Tonga should really win, but yeah, I mean,
Tonga by
30
30.
Wales. Yep. And just go to the next one. So Wednesday, October 26th, sees Papua New Guinea versus the Cook Islands at Halliwell Jones Stadium. What do you reckon?
Papua New Guinea for me. Papua New Guinea by 16.
Yeah, I think Papua New Guinea will be too strong there for the Cook Islands. And got a couple more games here, so we'll just go through this as quickly as possible here. So Monday, November the 1st, we see Tonga versus the Cook Islands at the Riverside Stadium. How do you think it's going to go? Do you think Tonga will be too strong, or do you think the Cook Islands can give them a bit of a game, or do you think Tonga will just be too good?
I think it will be similar to the Samoa versus Cook Islands game that we saw in the mid-season tests. So I'm going to go with Tonga, maybe by 20, something like that.
Yep. So Sammy's saying your pool D is literally the pool of death, where Tonga likely to be pool winners while the Cooks and that PNG fight it out for the runners-up. Yeah, I agree with you there on that one. But so the last one, just to round out the pool here. So Tuesday, November 2nd, sees Papua New Guinea versus Wales. Look, for me, it's PNG all the way. I think they will win this game. What do you think?
Yep, agree.
Yep, so PNG there. So, so now on to the players to watch for this pool now. So who do you reckon you're looking at for in terms of this group?
For Papua New Guinea, I've gone with Mackenzie Gay and Watson Boss. I love watching Papua New Guinea play. I think that those two guys wear their heart on their sleeves. Very passionate Papua New Guineans. For Tonga, we'll take your pick, really. I want to see how Tui Lola here turns out. He could potentially be what was missing in the mid-season test. He was unable to make it due to obviously playing in the Super League. I think he's been playing fullback for Huddersfield, and he's been doing really, really well. Obviously a former Warrior there. Wales, maybe Reece Williams. He's been around for a fair while now. A good player to watch. Cook Islands, who have I gone with here? Probably SA Masters. He's probably Dylan Napa should be interesting. He's played for them a few times now. Go with those two guys.
Yep. So for me, look for Tonga, I'm gonna go out for Telltale Monet actually, and I'm also for PNG. I'm gonna go with Wellington Albert, and I'm gonna go with Watson Bowers and Nixon Put there. Wales, probably Caleb Aiken's there, and that's who I'm looking at for as players to watch here. So I'll just go into the chat again here. So Jacko here is saying PNG should really take Cooks and Wales and not worry about losing to Tonga. And Jacko's also saying here, Lola here is vital for Tonga to go deep into finals. He needs to play at his best. Absolutely agree there on that one. Yeah, they need to. Their halves, obviously, they need to have a good start to the tournament because it's so important. There's been a lot, of concern around Tonga and their spine. So hopefully they can get off to a good start and build those combinations. But I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the pools. But just quickly, a prediction actually for this pool. Who do you think is going to finish first, second, third, and fourth?
Yeah, I've got to head off in a couple of minutes. I'll wrap up my predictions if you don't mind. I've got Tonga finishing comfortably first, and then Papua New Guinea scraping in for the teams in that tournament. Cook Islands third and Wales fourth. So then we'll head to the quarterfinals, and it'll be the winner of Group B, which is the Australia-Fiji group, versus the runner-up of Group C, which is the New Zealand-Lebanon group. So in that, I've got Australia taking on Lebanon in the first quarterfinal. The second quarterfinal is the Group A winner. So if you remember, Group A is that England-Samoa group versus the runner-up of that Tonga-Papua New Guinea group, which is Group D. So because I've got England beating Samoa in that first game of the tournament, that creates an England versus Papua New Guinea quarterfinal there. Third quarterfinal is the winner of Group C, which is the New Zealand-Lebanon group, versus the runner-up of Group B, the Australia-Fiji group. So that creates the New Zealand versus Fiji quarterfinal in Hull. And the fourth quarterfinal is the winner of Group D, so Tonga, versus the runner-up of Group A, which I've got as Samoa because I've got them losing that first game. And then that creates, I've got Australia beating Lebanon, England beating Papua New Guinea, New Zealand beating Fiji, and I've got Samoa beating Tonga in this scenario, but that's another one that could go either way, of course. Which brings me to the semi-final, which is the winner of quarterfinal 1 versus the winner of quarterfinal 3. So quarterfinal 1 is Australia-Lebanon, quarterfinal 3 is New Zealand-Fiji. So that's where Australia and New Zealand play each other in that first semi-final at Elland Road in Leeds. And the second quarterfinal is the winner of, in my mind, England versus Papua New Guinea quarterfinal, takes on the winner of the, in my mind, Tonga versus Samoa. So I've got England, Samoa again. If I've got any of these calculations wrong, guys, feel free to correct me. It's just something that I put together before this podcast. And I've actually got an Australia versus Samoa final at Old Trafford in both scenarios. In fact, even if Samoa lose the first game, I've got still an Australia versus Samoa. Although New Zealand, I'm really hoping that they can topple Australia in that quarterfinal. So we could have a New Zealand Samoa or a New Zealand Tonga final. So if New Zealand beat Australia, New Zealand Samoa. That's about it.
Yeah. No worries. You've got given up your time and that's to come on here, and I'd like to also thanks to the viewers as well for tuning in and watching, and as well as apologies for a few bit of comments here early on there. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks Keith for coming on, and it's been a joy to have you on.
Anytime, mate. Thanks for the comments, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, like the live stream back, comment as well if you are watching it back later on. And cheers everyone for watching. Cheers for tuning in, and have a good night and have a good rest of the week. Cheers everyone.